8 pair, 9 pair, glossopharyngeal nerve. Nervus glossopharyngeus. It is mixed nerve. What nuclei it has? What nuclei has the glossopharyngeal nerve? 3 types of nuclei: sensory, motor, and vegetative. Sensory nucleus. Do you remember what sensory? It is common with the facial and vagus. Nucleus tractus solitari. Taste sensory. Да? Middle portion belongs to common with the vagus nerve. Ambiguous. Ambiguous, it means double. Double nucleus. Common for 9 and 10. Glossopharyngeus and vagus, they have common motor nucleus because they have the same motor innervation of pharynx, that innervates together pharynx, and that is why they have one common nucleus ambiguous, and one vegetative nucleus which is projected. Glossopharyngeus, that it has nucleus salivatorius inferior. Nucleus salivatorius inferior. Superior belong to facial nerve, inferior belong to glossopharyngeal, salivatorius inferior. Do you remember what glands? Facial nerve innervates all facial glands, by exception what gland? Facial nerve innervates lacrimal, innervates glands of the nasal cavity, oral cavity, sublingual, submandibular. What glands don't innervate? These glands for which it passes, only passes. If students say facial nerve innervate, no, facial motor portion passes through the parotid, but don't innervate. It is motor fiber for muscles, but not for gland. The gland receives, if we say innervation, what fibers it must receive for innervation? Sensory and 2 types of vegetative. Sensory receives from what nerve? What pair of the cranial nerve supplies sensory fibers? I say, if we touch every point, what nerve? Immediately, trigeminal. And then you revise what branch passes near. Auriculotemporal from trigeminal. Which branch passes near gland? This will innervate from trigeminal mandibular branch, nervus auriculotemporalis, gives sensory. But vegetative it receives parasympathetic and sympathetic. Parasympathetic it receives from this nucleus, nucleus salivatorius inferior. Mixed nerve arises together, 9, 10 and 11 together. From what part of the brain arise? Quickly. 9, 10, 11. From what part of the brain? From medulla oblongata, behind oliva, retro-olivary groove. 9, 10, 11. And through the pre-olivary groove, what pair of the nerve? Hypoglossal. 12. 12 in front, between pyramis. Это вы помните, где появляется подъязычный нерв? Но если не понимаете, можете там подождать. Ладно, все равно. Between pyramis and oliva, 12. Hypoglossal. Behind oliva, glossopharyngeal, vagus, and accessorius. 9, 10, 11, the same. And 9, 10, 11 together leave the skull. Through what foramen? No, jugularis. Through the jugular foramen leave together anterior part, this 9, 10, 11, posterior as a direct continuation of the sigmoid sinus, vena jugularis. This foramen is shape, no this round foramen, it has like 8. Through the anterior part, 3 pile, 9, 3 nerves pass, 10 and 11, and for posterior, what vein? Vena jugularis. Through posterior and from anterior. Here nerves, 9, 10, 11, and vena jugularis interna, which is direct continuation of the sigmoid venous sinus. And then 9 pair appears through the foramen jugulare on medial side of styloid process. From this process, so-called anatomical bunch of muscles arise. 3 muscles which go from styloid process to the tongue, to the hyoid bone, and to the pharynx. Stylohyoid, stylopharyngeal, and styloglossal muscles. This nerve goes along the lateral side of stylopharyngeal muscles on lateral wall of the pharynx. You immediately find the end branches along the stylopharyngeal muscles, then it goes to the root of the tongue and end it in the posterior 1/4 of the tongue, rami lingualis, end branches. Glossopharyngeal to the tongue and pharynx gives branches. And 9 pair, it is what nerve? Glossopharyngeal. But by the way, inside jugular foramen below it forms ganglion superior, ganglion inferior, two sensory ganglia. On the level of ganglion inferior, it gives through the fossula petrosa inside the tympanic cavity, mixed nerve, tympanicus nerve, which leaves this cavity through the hiatus canalis nervae petrosae minoris. Sensory portion it left in tympanic cavity, and only parasympathetic portion leaves this cavity and goes through the sphena petrosa fissure. In your textbook, through foramen ovale is written, passes to the ganglion noticum where interrupted and gives branches to the postganglionic fibers to the parotid gland. And by the way, it gives rami pharyngi, ramus sinus and glomus caroticus, rami tonsillaris, and posterior one third of the tongue, rami lingualis. 10 pair vagus. Turn your attention to the nuclei, to the site of immerging, we say about brain, about the skull, foramen jugulare, and 4 portion of the vagus nerve. Cranial portion, it has meningeal and auricular branches. Cervical portion, it is the longest cranial nerve, vagus. And main portion is parasympathetic, nucleus dorsalis nervi vagi, from this nucleus arise. And also motor, also sensory fibers, raptus solitaria and nucleus ambiguous it has. For innervation of organs of the head, neck, thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity until descending colon supplied from vagus, but below the colon descendants of the large intestine supplied from parasympathetic portion of the in spinal segments. Spinal segments we have parasympathetic centers, nuclei, which supply the organs of the lesser pelvic cavity, parasympathetic innervation. All above organ they are innervated by the longest nerve, nervus vagus. Vagus maybe described next. All this nerve, please study in accordance with plan. 11 and 12 they are short nerve. 11 motor innervates the musculatus and trapezius, and 12 innervates the muscles of the tongue, and about 12 we will describe next class is also the cervical plexus and communication with the hypoglossal nerve, which passes through the canalis of the hypoglossal nerve, through the preolivary groove, and form connection with the spinal nerves and form ansa cervicalis. After this, we'll start next class is spinal nerves, all 12 pair of the cranial nerves. Revise, my dear.